What is going on, everybody? Chris Pearson here, as always, with another edition of the Plugged In video game show, the kind of now every other weekly recap of the video game charts, breakdowns of recent sales, hardware, software, the big trends going on out there. And like I said on the last show 2 weeks ago, this time of year now, things are really starting to ramp up in terms of some big game titles. E3 is next week. I've got it. I don't know if you guys can see, but it is labeled on my calendar right here in the middle of June. E3. The conferences are mostly on Monday the 9th. And then they'll go into, I think Nintendo's is on the 10th. And then, of course, just the usual, the last 2 days are like just testing out games on the floor. So that's exciting for next week. Really always pumped to see what comes out of E3. I take a ton of notes on the different games that are coming out and the features and all that stuff. I'm always excited to see what comes out. I think, if I remember correctly, Microsoft's going to be first. And then they'll have EA, Ubisoft, then Sony's is late on the 9th, and then Nintendo's conference is on the 10th early. They don't have a conference per se. It's their second straight year they don't really have a conference. They have more of a like digital direct video to show consumers and the media. So really exciting for next week, but a lot to get to in terms of this week. Now, granted, this chart is ending on the 27th, which means we just had Wolfenstein New Order come out, and then for this coming week, we've got Watch Dogs and Mario Kart 8. Now, we won't know official numbers till the next chart comes out, but Nintendo, this is big breaking news starting off this video. Dun, 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 breaking news, from Broncom. This is huge stuff. Nintendo has come out and said that Mario Kart 8, which of course is only released on the Wii U, is already the fastest selling Wii U title ever. Seriously, ever. Okay? In a span of, it came out just last Friday, in a span of 3 days, and they did not specify if this was just North America or North America and Europe. But in 3 days, 1.2 million copies sold of Mario Kart 8. That is huge for not only a console that is we've knocked into, been struggling throughout the years. The poor sales, not a lot of games out there released. This could be the start of a big turnaround for Nintendo in general and for the console. So this is huge. I mean, I was expecting it to be a big seller, but not at that level. And I'm expecting Watch Dogs to be a big seller as well. I expect it to put up very strong numbers when we get the numbers out from its first week. So, but that was definitely a huge eye-opener. That would already, if those 1.2 million numbers are just United States alone, I think no matter what, it's going to put it at the #2 game of the year. Probably most of that is U.S., which means it would leapfrog Infamous Second Son as the #2 selling game of the year behind Titanfall. So this is huge. This is a huge start for Nintendo, for the Wii U in general, and just, again, it shows that people, and it really makes you wonder then how many people not only bought the game just for the game, but maybe bought the console bundle with it. Or the fact, I don't know if they count this in the sales, but if because the bundle pack comes with the game in it, do they count that in sales? I really wonder that as well, because it makes you wonder, if people buy the game already have the console, or they get the console just for the game and get the game with it. What did people do to get it? So that just blew my mind away. So that was huge. I had to start off with that. But we look at the chart that just was released recently, and again, this is the week ending the 24th of May. So again, we're always about a week back. But so obviously, it's topped by Wolfenstein New Order. This game was majorly hyped. It was the first game in the series in a long time. And again, with that's kind of been the trend of late with games that have either been pushed back and delayed that people have been waiting for, like a Watch Dogs, or a title in a franchise that hasn't come out with a new game in a long time. People then eat it up, and Wolfenstein definitely did that. The PS4 and Xbox One versions, both alone, sold over 100,000 copies in their first week. PS4 133,000 plus copies, Xbox One 109,000 plus copies. So again, just goes to show a very strong opening there for them, for Bethesda. As a whole, great start from them. Now the 360 and PS3 versions didn't do too bad either. They were in the top 10. 360 version sold about 43,000 copies, and the PS3 version sold about 29,000, more than that. So when you put the numbers all together, in its first week, Wolfenstein New Order pulls off one of the best multi-platform debuts of the year. In 1 week, they are already up as the 7th best-selling game of 2014. Let me say that again. In its first week, Wolfenstein New Order, 7th best-selling game of the year. 315,623 copies in its first week. That is a huge debut for a multi-platform. That almost, not by much, but it just misses the peak sales of Metal Gear Solid 5 and Thief, which right now are the two best, really across the board multi-platform titles across 4 different consoles of the year. So really, this is obviously right now it's going to be on pace to be the top multi-game. It even leapfrogged the peak of the Lego Movie game, which so far is the best movie license title of the year. Which that I didn't think it could pull that off, but with the way that movie kept going up and up and up on a weekly basis, if it can do that in 1 week, imagine what it's going to do over these next couple weeks. Even though with these big titles coming out, it might keep selling and maybe getting to 400,000, maybe even 500,000 mark. It won't get like in maybe the top 2, top 3. Since Mario Kart 8 is going to be there. Watch Dogs is going to be there. And you have Infamous still sitting there, still selling well. So it's not going to get to that level, but certainly it might end up as 5th or 6th best game of 2014 in terms of sales by the end of the calendar year. But then again, you still got big titles coming out later on with like the new Call of Duty, the new Assassin's Creed, the new Battlefield. So there's a lot still to come that might influence that. But for now, that game is going to put itself in a very, very strong position with these first week sales. So well done to the team at Bethesda behind Wolfenstein, because clearly this was a game that people wanted to get their hands on. Minecraft. Obviously, we don't need to talk anymore about Minecraft. It's still selling extremely well. The PS3 version is going to eclipse 100,000 copies very soon. It sold actually more this week than in its debut week, which that doesn't happen very often. But this week, it shot up again, now at 94,017 copies. That already puts it above the likes of Tales of Symphonia, Kinect Sports Rivals, so it's quickly climbing the ladder. It's going to eclipse 100,000 copies. It's probably going to eclipse the peak sales of Amazing Spider-Man 2. At this point now, it's in a race with Kirby Triple Deluxe, because Kirby, flew up quickly, and it's now at about 130,000 copies in its 4th week. So if I expect at the pace that that's going, Minecraft will probably surpass Kirby here in the coming weeks, because Kirby's starting to trail off just a little bit, not by much, but it's starting to trail off. Where I thought for sure that Kirby was going to easily surpass Yoshi's New Island, but after the sale numbers from last week, I'm not so sure anymore. I don't know. It might come really close, but time will tell. Time will tell going forward. But I certainly think Minecraft, at the pace it's going, is going to surpass it. So the PS3 version is 3rd this week, 94,000 copies. The 360 version sells is at 6th, still selling well. Another 32,500 some copies off the shelf this week. It's still over 2.5 million. So again, across the board, Minecraft selling well.
He's given you 3 strong innings in this game.
Okay. 8th this week. So again, top 7 all occupied by Minecraft and Wolfenstein. 8th, Titanfall for Xbox One. Now I will say about Titanfall, it is starting to kind of go into a slow crawl. It's really not flying up with copies at the pace that it was supposed to. So again, I'm not sure if it'll reach the 2 million mark or not. Time will tell on that. But the Xbox One version sells another 18,000 copies this week, putting it at 1 million, about 1,169,000. And then the 360 version is 15th this week with another 11,000 copies plus. So again, about 470,000 copies. So now Titanfall is at 1,641,518 copies. Still far and away the top game of the year. Again, but depending on where that Mario Kart 8 goes, it'll be right there in discussion to catch it. So, so right now, though, still, until we get the official numbers, far and away, it's the top game. But eventually, that is going to change. With all these big titles coming out down the line, eventually that is going to change. But still, Titanfall will go down, I think, as one of the top games of the year. I mentioned Kirby Triple Deluxe. It's 9th this week. Another 18,000 copies for Kirby. So again, that puts it at 134,672. So again, the challenge now for Kirby, again, this lull now starting to happen. Will it catch Yoshi's Peak? And I thought for sure that at the pace it was going to catch the sales of Yoshi's New Island. But now, if it's going to be crawling like this, I don't know. It's going to be a really, really tough kind of chase to the finish for Kirby to leapfrog Yoshi's New Island. At first, I would have thought, not a chance. But then I see the sales numbers, and I'm like, whoa, it's flying. This could potentially be something here. Now it's going to be a race to the finish line. So it's going to be very close. Again, if Minecraft, the way it keeps going, is probably going to leapfrog it maybe even next week. Kirby's going to have a big, big week in sales to really put pressure on Yoshi's New Island to surpass it in sales for the year. Now, 10th on the list is a title that probably was put out to very limited stores. We did not receive it at our store, but Drakengard 3 for PS3 from Square Enix comes in at number 10 with 16,600 copies. So again, kind of an under-the-radar title, not very well known, so that's why it's kind of low on the list. I don't expect it to be a big breakout hit this year. 11th is Pokemon X and Y, another 15,000 copies plus, still selling strong. Call of Duty Ghosts at number 12. MLB 14 to show, I mentioned this. It's 13th this week. So now it's up to 174,615 copies. Still the top MLB game out there. It leapfrogs Yoshi this week, as I kind of expected it to, because I knew that Yoshi was trailing off. So I expected it to leapfrog that. And now its next challenge is going to be leapfrogging the top Wii U game before Mario Kart 8 came out, and that was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Will it surpass that? It's about 13,000 copies short right now. So if it can sell what? If it sold 12,000 this week, if it can do that again next week, then it's going to leapfrog Donkey Kong Country. So I expect it to do that and continue to sell well in the weeks to come. GTA 5 for 360 comes in at 14th. Titanfall for 360 at 15th. And then your normal big-time titles make at the bottom of the list. Ghost for PS4, Ghost for Xbox One. Interesting, Just Dance 2014 for Wii really hasn't shown up on the list much, but it was 18th in sales this past week, about 8,800 copies. It sold over 1.5 million since its release, so still that title doing very, very well. Then New Super Mario Bros. U, New Super Luigi U 20th. Infamous Second Son, another 8,000 copies this week. So in 10 weeks now, 643,100 copies. So again, that still puts it clear and away second place for the year. But again, until Mario Kart 8 and Watch Dogs numbers get released, it will probably be bumped off that platform. Then you've got GTA 5 PS3, Battlefield 4 for 360, Forza 5 for Xbox One, still selling well, Ghost for PS3, Battlefield 4, your usual holdover titles. And everything after that is pretty much holdover titles. So, so again, it'll be really interesting to see where, that how much of that 1.2 million for Mario Kart 8 is just United States, or if it's all United States. Where, how much of that is just USA, and where will that put it in the rankings for the year? Will it go above the second side? It probably will. Plus, you got to keep in mind Watch Dogs. I made a prediction. I don't know if I mentioned it on here or not. I made a prediction that Watch Dogs would top about 800,000 copies between the two platforms, or actually, the 4 platforms in its first week, which that would be, way above Wolfenstein, way, that would make it the top multi-platform, debut of the year, as it should be, because it was so hyped. It's just, because again, there was the hype, the fact there was a long delay, that usually equals success. Remember what happened when that happened to GTA 5? Hype, obviously. There was a lengthy delay, it got pushed back multiple times, and it sold the best, first day sales ever. So that would be the darn moment, if you will, edited. But so that could happen here with Watch Dogs. So other notable things to kind of look at. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is interesting. It peaked after only 3 weeks. It was really on an upward trend to start, and I thought that would continue going forward. But unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to have the staying power to catch the Lego Movie video game in sales. Borderlands 2 for Vita, it also only peaked out after 3 weeks. It quickly fell out of the top 30. So again, it's, for a Vita title, strong, but not as strong as, say, Final Fantasy Remaster or the MLB 14 The Show version. It's the first Vita standalone to do this well of the year, but clearly another disappointment for the Vita franchise. And then there's another multi-platform disappointment. Bound by Flame. Bound by Flame. Weird title, weird cover. I don't get the game. It definitely conked out quickly, fell off the map quickly. Huge disappointment there for a multi-platform title. So what have we got coming up? This week, of course, at least in terms of the charts, we'll know the numbers for Watch Dogs and Mario Kart 8 officially. We know they're going to be good. We know they're going to be very strong. We know they're going to be up there in terms of the top games of the year. We know that. Murdered Soul Suspect is coming out on June 3rd. That's tomorrow. So that is another multi-platform title coming out. See how that's going to do. And then you've also got Tamagochi Life for 3DS coming out on Friday. That's June 6th. And a lot of, course, speculation surrounding that game and how it's going to sell. Of course, there was the whole scandal with the same-sex thing involving that. So how is that going to impact its game sales? That will definitely be an interesting thing to watch for when we look at that. So again, a lot really to pour over in the weeks to come. Regarding the game titles, and again, just again, I think that those Watch Dogs and Mario Kart 8 are going to be putting themselves in the top titles of the year, 2-3 titles for the year within their first weeks. I can't wait to see what those numbers show. Obviously we now know Mario Kart 8's numbers, 1.2 million, but again, is that in total USA, Europe, or just America? That's going to be intriguing. How much of that is just USA? So. But obviously, it puts it at one of the top titles of the year, as it should be, and we're going to see then how continuing along what they're going to do. Now, also next week's, and again, I have to mention this because I've mentioned it on here before, but again, this makes the console battle all the more interesting. Next week, on June 9th, next Monday, the Xbox One releases at $399. Without the Kinect sensor included. It's a bundle pack, but no Kinect sensor. It's just the console itself. It's the same price as the PS4. So this will it'll be very, very intriguing to see, how intense this makes this, because you think about it. We thought that Xbox One was really starting to close the gap on PS4, but as of late, again, the PS4 has really started to take off. And this past week alone, it crushed Xbox One in sales here in the United States by about 14,000 units. Now, they both went up percentage-wise for the week. Xbox One went up by about 5%, PS4 by 2%. But for the week, PS4 about 45,000 units compared to Xbox One's 31,000. That means so far, you know, in the United States, the PS4 sold about 3.3 million units. The Xbox One has not even hit the 3 million mark yet, 2,898,368. Meaning right now, the PS4 has sold 433,014 more units than the Xbox One. That's the difference right there. About 430 some thousand units. So if the Xbox One cannot close the gap with this, you know, new version of their console, I don't know what else Microsoft can do to really close the gap. You know, bundle games in it, add a controller. I don't know. I mean, it's because clearly PS4 has been the runaway winner from the start. They clearly have been, and it just continues to show. Also interesting to point out this week that because of Mario Kart 8, probably, Wii U had a big increase this week. A 6% increase, 12,000 more units this week for the Wii U. Now, it finally eclipsed the 2 million mark, at least here in the United States. So that's a good stepping stone. And again, with the game, I expect that number to rise with the game now out, with the numbers being shown that it's selling strong. I expect that number only to rise in the coming weeks. Also, the old Wii continued to sell, got a 9% increase this week, 3,300 copies. And interestingly enough, the PS Vita, a 9% increase. Gee, probably because of Borderlands 2. Or the Sly Cooper collection just came out. I don't know, but it had a 9% increase, 2,205 units. The biggest loser for the week, surprisingly enough, the 3DS dropped 9% in sales this week. But it's still selling rather well. It's still sold 12 million units here in the States, so it's not going to trail off anytime soon. It's still making good games. But clearly right now, with these big titles coming out for, you know, the multi-platform games and the Wii U, that's expected to happen. That's going to happen. So really, that's the thing. Now for the week, there was overall a 1% increase on total hardware units sold for the week. So that's interesting to note. Now software-wise, 360 still led the way, followed by PS3, then PS4 and Xbox One. Interesting here, Xbox One had a 141% increase in software sales this week. That's really impressive. And interesting here to note something. Yes, the PS4 has sold more hardware than the Xbox One, but the Xbox One has sold more software in the United States than the PS4. That's really interesting to note. By about 800,000 units or 800,000 copies. So interesting to note that. But again, probably because they have more better exclusives. That's what I've said all along. PS4 increased 97%. Then PS3 by 25%, 360 by 10%, Wii by 11% increase. Wii U at only a 1% increase, but that will change with Mario Kart 8. And then the 3DS, again, kind of correlating with the hardware drop, software also dropped by 9%. So again, you're going to have that when the other consoles and titles are getting more sales. So that's, again, kind of a typical reaction. So again, just to wrap up and recap things to look for in the coming weeks ahead. And again, we'll have this again 2 weeks in. We'll talk about the sales for Watch Dogs. We'll talk about the sales for Mario Kart 8. I believe we'll have Murdered Soul Suspect numbers by then, maybe even Tamagochi Life, so we'll look at those numbers as well. And, you know, continuing upward trends, how the Wii U is selling because of Mario Kart 8. these are going to be some interesting things to look for ahead. And of course, E3 with E3 on the around the corner. That's going to be a big thing to talk about too. I will run through my notes when he talks about some things with you guys as well from what I take away from E3, because that's in 2 weeks. Well, actually, it'll be the week after E3 is when we'll have the show on again. So it'll be the week of the 15th, 16th. So I'll probably aim to do another show on the 16th for this plugged-in series. So again, we'll talk about Mario Kart 8, Watch Dogs, Murdered Soul Suspect, Tamagochi Life, and of course we'll talk about E3. You got to talk about E3. It's a big event. You got to talk about E3. I mean, yeah, you just gotta. Is there a way to put my guide or E3? You know, it's like, you know, I don't know if there's a way to do it, but you know, E3, you know, but yeah, we'll definitely talk about that on the next show. So again, I thank you guys for your patience. I was ready to record this video last Friday when the chart was supposed to be up. It wasn't up, so I had to move it back to recording it today on Monday. So thank you guys again for your patience. Thank you guys, of course, for all, again, the support, the views, you subscribe, all you guys. Thank you so much. And talking real quick about, of course, football coming up as well, with fantasy football coming up right around the corner now that it's June. Of course, training camps are starting. I have gotten a notification, or, well, actually through email, I will be notified soon of when my fantasy football league is launching. So once that happens, I'll have my draft. And as always, when I cut my draft, I always do a post fantasy draft breakdown on here. And what I was aiming for with players, what I was looking for with the whole draft process. So we'll have a video on that as well. Again, don't forget also to check out, if you haven't yet, I know it's a lengthy video, but it was really worth it to do. If you haven't checked it out, the post NFL draft and free agency player breakdown, the depth chart breakdown for all 32 NFL teams. Yes, I understand the video is over 2 hours long. I know it's a lengthy video, but trust me, you can just watch it for your favorite team, or if you want to watch for all the teams, that's cool too. Check that video out if you haven't yet. And again, I really appreciate your guys' support for all the video series that I do. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have an awesome, awesome week. Enjoy E3 next week. It is definitely one of the, obviously, crowning moments for the video game fans like us out there who really follow these trends and see how the game sales are doing. It's always exciting to see what's going to be coming down the road. So enjoy that next week, and we'll have a full recap on the next edition of Plugged In, tentatively scheduled for Monday, June 16th. Thanks, guys. God bless you. Have a great week. See you next time.